I'm from Black America, it's just another year. You knew the disrespect by your elected puppeteers, but let me show you how to persevere. Cause get it, baby.
Yo, what's up? We back, baby! It's the Nitty Gritty Show. Yeah, we back, Lana. Good to see you, boo. How you doing? Look, it's your boy Jay DaCosta.
And it is your girl Katniss.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. Got some cool beats playing in the background. You know, we used to play music. We was trying to put on folks. Sometimes I don't get that many spins, but y'all record labels keep on trying to block our videos, and I got tired of that. So we just gonna play random beats, y'all. I might even spit a couple of verses for y'all every now and then. Katrina might just randomly sing some stuff to go with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how we gonna be moving going forward, you know? But we back. So good to see the McKinneys in the building. Let me go ahead and throw a bomb out real quick. Casey in the house. Alright. So let's go ahead and get ready to get back to it. I know not everybody probably back with us, but that's cool. We've been on our summer vacation. We had Nyla in town. You know, we was doing things with the little one. We've been trying to live our best life, the best way we can. You know? But we back. And I think we're going to start doing this more often. Just go ahead and take a break in the summer because there's so many things going on the weekends. And we didn't want to be like, okay, we on this weekend, we off that weekend, we on. Want to keep it like pretty stable. So we're here. We will not be having a show on Labor Day weekend. I think just going forward on like holiday weekends, we probably just take a break because that just makes no sense. We got something from Lana on IG.
She said, welcome back. It's the most anticipated return this fall. I want to get to the nitty gritty.
Oh, yeah, we going to get to it. So, yeah, we got a couple of things to cover. We got everything from the Olympics to them terrorists that attacked the Capitol. We'll touch on that a little bit. We'll talk about verses even. Y'all know we like verses. We'll talk about the vaccination. We're going to really get down into that for real. And then we're going to talk a little about cancel culture. And if we got time, we might talk about the kind of personalities that I think some of these ladies want. You know what I'm saying? The kind of personality it takes.
Think it's gender specific.
Yeah, that's just the kind of personality it takes to make some real money out here, right? So if we got time, we'll dig into that too. So, yeah, let's get right to it. Before we do that, let's pay some bills. Shout out to the DC Shy Pie, Grant Thompson and team. You can follow them at the DC Shy Pie on Facebook or on Instagram. Check them out. Some of the best deep dish pizza you're going to find on the East Coast, I'll say. But definitely if you come to the DMV, check out the DC Shy Pie. They actually just opened up their first storefront.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've been in business for a while. They actually started, this is one of those businesses that was birthed through COVID. So, shout out to that, right? Some people got blessed during COVID. And, yeah, they was able to start the DC Shy Pie. I'm a huge fan of the pies there. Amazing food. Everything from the salmon pesto, the Philly, the sausage and pepperoni deep dish. Yo, food is amazing. And for those...
They have salmon pesto?
Yeah, they got a salmon pesto joint. That look fire. Fire. It gets, like, heavy reviews. You know what I'm saying? It always sells out quick. So, yeah, the DC Shop Pie. If you're in the DMV area, go check them out, man. Get yourself a pie. But make sure you bring your appetite and a crew with you because it will fill you up. It's not something you would handle by yourself. I don't care how greedy you are. You're not eating that whole pie by yourself. If you can, more power to you. And so, let's get into some current... Are you happy to be back, Kat? Yeah? You been waiting for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your hair looks good, girl. I see you. And your full, you know, the full beauty thereof of being natural.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, y'all, that's not a wig. That's all Cat right there. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Y'all see it. Y'all see the swag. Y'all see the styles. The styles is here. So anyways, let's get into some current news. I know you've been watching the Olympics hard, so you probably got more on this than me. But shout out to the U.S. right now, because I think did it end yesterday or today? I feel like it ended yesterday, or it's running to today, or today's like closing ceremonies or something, right?
Probably, yeah. I think the men's basketball team even pulled out a gold, I think.
No, they did pull out the gold, which surprised me because it wasn't looking good at first.
They said it was a close game.
Yeah.
Like, I think they won like 84-82, something like that.
No, like they actually had to work. Shout out to Kevin Durant, he did his thing too. And then shout out to all the whole U.S. Olympic team. They lead in overall medal count. I think the last count that I saw was like 117 total, and then they had the highest number for gold. I think it was like 39.
Okay.
And China was close behind at 38. So for a while China was leading the gold count.
Of course they were.
But the U.S. pulled it out. So shout out to the great USA, right, doing their thing in the Olympics, and shout out to all the people that make America great. You know what I'm saying? I know Donald Trump was running around talking about let's make America great again. I don't know what he meant by that again part. But as far as making America great, period, it's that way because we're a country of minorities. We have so many different talents and so many different people that pour into this nation. This nation would not be what it is without everyone. I don't. If it wasn't for the Native Americans that are here, if it wasn't for the black folks that were forced to come here, right? If it wasn't for our Asian population, our Latino population, we have some of the greatest artists in the world representing so many different styles of music and entertainment, all here in America. You know why? Because it's a melting pot of different people. So for those out there who think America is good old white folk, you're sadly mistaken, because we wouldn't have half these. I would say 75% of our medals wouldn't be here if we wasn't the melting pot that is America. So we need to think about that moving forward. Just had to throw that little piece in. And then shout out to Jamaica. Yeah, y'all did y'all thing.
Sprinters.
Which ones did y'all run again? Jamaica ran y'all ran the podium in a few events, didn't y'all?
Oh, you mean the sweep?
Yeah, the sweep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what you were talking about first. Oh, that was the 100 open. So the open means that it's not like a relay. It means it's like every man for themselves. And it was a 1, 2, 3 sweep. So Jamaica won gold through bronze in the 100 open. And Elaine Thompson-Herah from Jamaica actually broke the Olympic record that Flojo had established back in the 80s.
Oh, wow. However,
nobody has ever been able to come close to breaking Flojo's personal best world record. I think it was 10:59. So.
Yeah. So shout out to that. Also, I think her last name is Dressel. I know she's from right here in Bethesda, the swimmer.
Okay.
Yeah, she did her thing. So shout out to her. I think she first started in the Olympics when she was 15, and now I think she has the most. She owns the most medals for any woman in swimming. Now I think something like that.
And
so it's
I
a lot
know
of records been
Simone
broken.
Biles is tied for the most medals of any gymnastics star.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Simone.
Yeah. Real quick, let's just talk about Simone. So how do you feel about Simone? Because shout out to Sven. I see you out there. I'm gonna drop a bomb for you, even though you can't hear it on IG.
So Simone saying that she had to take some time away from mental health. I heard that she also had a death in the family. So obviously we don't know the circumstances that caused maybe a greater sense of pressure on her to perform and win gold. I do know that when you talk about the Olympics, I do know that the gymnastics program is very, 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 very harsh. They don't really like anything but gold when it comes to gymnastics. I feel like maybe the pressure was too much for her because she was the face of the Olympics.
Yeah.
So I think that naturally she probably just want to take some time away. And of course, 2 or 3 years ago with the with it being proven that the doctor was molesting all of them.
Nasser.
Yep. It's possible that when she went to the Olympics, maybe some of those thoughts came back. I think there was a lot of things that may have come into play as to why she decided to pull out of the Olympic competition. I think there's nothing wrong with putting yourself first and taking mental health days. I do know that when it comes to sports or saying that you are an Olympian or you are the best, I believe the thought process is that because of the pressure that you're able to still succeed and prevail or still catch the win or go for gold is kind of what makes athletes considered great, because they exude the mental fortitude despite the pressure or despite an aching body. So that's my thoughts on it. How about you?
I mean, I was, how my initial thoughts was this is soft. Greatness doesn't come unless you go hard. And I think I'm still partial to that initial thought. But I guess someone who helped me kind of see it from another lens, because I just wasn't seeing it from another lens, y'all. I was one of those folks that's soft to me. Come on, don't come to the Olympics if you ain't trying to be great. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear about the twisties. That's where I stood. Y'all can cancel me if you want to. We'll talk about that later. But I'm just saying that's how I felt. Now, what actually kind of changed my mind is I was watching The Breakfast Club, and Jalen Rose was on there talking, right? He made a point that was like, kind of opened up my mind to a greater point. Because, you know, one of the people I was using for my argument was like Michael Jordan. And then I even talked about from a historical standpoint, you know, what if Jackie Robinson took a mental health break? Did he get that chance? You know, did some of our leaders get that opportunity? Jesse Owens, you know, folks like that. And something that Jalen Rose said was, in using Michael Jordan as the example, he was like, you know what? Michael Jordan took a mental health break too. We didn't call it that. But after he won 3 straight titles,
he did take a break.
His father died, and he left the NBA. Now, there's a lot of rumors and conspiracy theories maybe circling that, but what we do know is he did quit, and he took time for himself. He went to go play baseball, and we all have heard Michael Jordan on record say that, you know, I wanted to play baseball because I know this was something that my father, you know, always enjoyed and kind of wanted me to pursue, blah, 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 blah. Like, he made it very clear he did it in honor or in memory of his father.
Right. So,
even arguably the greatest athlete of all time, and to some people's opinion, took a mental health break. You know? So, it's something to be said about that. So, I think that gave me kind of like the room mentally to say, okay, I can see how, you know, she may need a break. And then shout out to my homeboy Stephen Williams. He had put something on Facebook that was dope. And I think that's kind of focusing on the positive. Instead of arguing about Simone Biles, his point was, you know what, for some people, you may need a no in your life, right? But for some people, someone else's no may equal your yes.
Right.
And so shout out to those who stepped up and were able to rise to the occasion when the person that we expected to do it all wasn't able. I mean, that's why we have alternate, right? And that's why even though sometimes in life you may sit on the bench, but you know what? That's okay. And it's all right for someone else to say, look, today's not my day, because that might be your chance to get tapped on the shoulder and say, you know what? But today's going to be your day. Yeah, so, yeah, shout out to some of those positive thoughts that I saw around that conversation.
Sven and Lana says, shout out to Allison Felix, and I totally agree. If you guys don't know, Allison Felix is the most decorated Olympian, tying, I think, is it tying Jesse Owens? I can't remember. But she has, I think, 11, or maybe she surpassed him. I think she surpassed him. She has 11 Olympic medals, I believe. Don't quote me. Allison's journey back to the Olympics was very inspiring because she's 35 years of age. She had a baby, and she was saying after she had the baby, she wasn't even able to walk.
Yeah.
Let alone run.
And then she lose her endorsements and all that kind of stuff. She Nike and all that.
And for the fact that she's still, like, in that 400, even though she didn't win gold, she still got bronze, just as a testament to her fight as an Olympian, as an athlete, to say, like, no matter what age I am, no matter my adversity, I wanted this. I'm still in the game. Like, it's just inspiring. This is like her fourth Olympic journey. Like, it's crazy. She's been like 4 Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, and shout out to her.
Dominated.
It's an amazing story. And then, you know,
she has her own shoes, Lana says.
She got her own shoe. I knew she got something even better than having an endorsement with Nike. So shout out to that. Really dope with the Olympics, but you know, wanted to kind of throw that out there. Speaking of amazing performances, Olympian-like, in my opinion. Shout out to your boy Jadakiss though. Top 5 Dead or Alive. Mr. Raspy did his thing on Versus. Killed all the Dipset by himself. He didn't even need Seek and Styles P, like literally by himself. One of the best rap performances I've seen. I know some folks didn't understand the culture of what was going on. It might have seemed too macho, too much bravado. But for those that don't know, that is hip hop. Especially New York hip hop is like that. It's very in your face. It's very braggadocious. I mean, come on, you got a whole crew from the Bronx, and you got a whole crew from Harlem. It was going to be a lot of trash talk, but I like the way they ended it. They ended it on peace. They was like, listen, we don't want nobody getting shot tonight, stabbed tonight. We don't want no ignorance. This was just a good time to celebrate hip-hop, to celebrate the bravado that is hip-hop, and that is okay. It wasn't toxic masculinity for those that feel that way. It was just hip-hop. And hip-hop is in your face, braggadocious, doing your thing. And look, my man did that. He did that. He was freestyling. For all my hip hop heads, we're gonna be doing it tomorrow night on Music Mondays, because the Nitty Gritty Show, we back. We definitely gonna go a little bit deeper into that. You know what I'm saying? So y'all stay tuned. That's gonna be a good time. So shout out to Jada. Also, You got to bring in the fact that, listen, y'all keep your ears peeled, keep your eyes open. Like, look, there's no real justice being served via the Justice Department for these terrorists. Call them what they are. For these terrorists that attacked the U.S. Capitol. I mean, these people are getting basically pats in the hand. Now the one young lady who was killed, her family wants to sue the federal government because her daughter died. Listen, and this is why we should have been more harsh on those guys that were taking ground in Texas and when they tried to kidnap the Michigan, when they went into the Michigan State Building.
Wait, time out. So the mother of the woman, the daughter was the one that committed a crime, right? She was a part of the mob.
Yeah. And she died. Remember? The lady that
shot.
came in from, like, I think she was coming in from Phoenix or California or something like that.
But
yeah.
Doesn't the parent understand that to do that is a federal crime?
Yeah, so they're trying to sue the U.S. government. And the irony that someone who is truly committing a crime, we have on paper, we see months longs of dialogue about this thing that she's going to participate in. But yet, we don't even get that kind of justice for Breonna Taylor, who was sleeping in her own bed. There was more justice done for the walls at Breonna Taylor's apartment than for Breonna Taylor. But this mother feel like she's entitled, or family feel like they're entitled to sue the federal government because her daughter ran up on Capitol grounds. And don't even make me go to how this would be so much different if they were black. Because we already know the answer, right? So I'm not even going to go there because I'll just be preaching to the choir. You know what I'm saying? So, and then last but not least, and actually this is going to take us to our main conversation. I know you guys have been hearing about the vaccination passports. New York City has enacted one already. California is close. Yo, Nicole, what's up? I see you, baby girl. And then also, Maryland is really close to doing a passport as well, a vaccination passport. And for those who are not familiar with the term, the vaccination passport simply is a documentation showing proof that you have been vaccinated via Pfizer, Moderna, or the Johnson & Johnson one-shot vaccine that would allow you to go into restaurants, grocery stores, various needs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like if you don't have that, yeah, it's like you're basically on forced quarantine, right? I want to say even if you got pulled over and you're not vaccinated and you're not like on your way to an emergency or somewhere or to get vaccinated, you could be actually fined. I haven't heard about anybody getting jail time, but you can be fined. I know 3 people from CNN was actually fired because they didn't get vaccinated. So Nicole said, I knew this day was coming. And I think a lot of us saw it coming. I mean, with the numbers spiking. So I just want to have a conversation. I don't want to lean it one way or the other. But I do want to talk about it, and I want to ask some key questions. So I want to get y'all thoughts and your feelings, and let's just work through this about how we feel about the vaccination passport, because I have dual feelings about it. Like one side of me is like, yeah, you should enforce a good thing, but then the other side of me, and probably the greater side of me, is like, is this an infraction on HIPAA laws and all of that? So let's ask the question. Yo, Elisa, I see you. Drop a bomb for you, girl. So let me just ask the question about the vaccination passport. Is this a violation of HIPAA laws or a right to privacy? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Katrina, I'll start with you.
Yes, it is a violation of HIPAA laws and a right to privacy. I will give you an example. So the flu vaccine is obviously not mandated, but people get it every year. Now, the years that I got the flu vaccine, I always got sick, but the years that I didn't get the flu vaccine, I was perfectly fine and okay. I understand why they want people to get vaccinated with for COVID, to help us better manage it, to save more lives. As we know, there has been evidence that if you get the vaccine and you catch COVID, you are more likely to survive versus dying, or more likely not to need a ventilator, which means if you don't need a ventilator, that means when it comes to a hospital environment, now doctors have the ability to service other people because they don't have to necessarily monitor you every 10 seconds or whatever as you're on a ventilator to help breathe. And there's only a limited number of ventilators per hospital anyway. For me, I think given that that COVID is still very new to us, yes, the vaccines have worked for the majority of people. I just think that you shouldn't force it on some, because there are a lot of studies coming out that are talking about the adverse effects it can have, i.e. there was one study that said women can be infertile. Then there was another study that said that was false information. It wasn't true or accurate. And I think that you're going to have this when it's a new drug. You're going to have multiple opinions. And then there's a way in research, and I know from public health, where you can try to convey or sway your message one way or another based upon who you're interviewing and or who your research participants are. So I don't think it should be forced. I understand why they're trying to push that, but I just think it's a violation of privacy.
I see there was some comments from IG too.
Yeah, Lana said it's not a violation to me. Also, it's basically your shot records that any public institution requires, like for your college. I will present my passport with bills. Yeah, Juan and I are going to present our passport too, but I personally don't think you should force someone to take it. There are a lot of people I know who don't believe in any kind of medicine of that sort. Like, there are people who I know who are really into herbs, natural healing, natural medicine. I know people who had COVID and were able to heal themselves because they took, natural resources. And if that's what they want to do, that is their prerogative. To me, if we're going to be inclusive to everybody, we have to be inclusive to different viewpoints as well.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion, though.
And the thing is, I don't know if there's a wrong answer in that regard. Well, no, there's some wrong answers out there. I'll say that. There are wrong answers.
I understand why I want to do it.
But I understand exactly where you're coming from. But then Lana makes a good point, because shot records are something that typically are kind of public in some regard. Like, typically HIPAA protects like that patient-client privilege in the sense that, like if I have like a terminal disease, right? I have the right to privacy to not have to disclose that. Or, if there's been if I've been infected with something or blah, 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 I have the right to not have to disclose that. Shots are a little different though, because the shot is not disclosing what your current health status is, if you will. It's just saying that you have almost like a driver's license in a way. And maybe that's a poor example, but it's just showing like, hey, you've cleared XYZ. Because the truth of the matter is, and this is really big for all of my international travelers, to go to certain countries, there are certain booster shots you have to take. These are like boosters to your immune system. And no matter what your status is as far as I'm holistic, not holistic, I don't believe in medicine, do believe in medicine, whatever, you ain't getting into certain countries unless you have whatever. It's almost kind of like, one could say it's an invasion to have to take a test. To have a mandatory PCR or rapid test to see if you even have it. Once you could say that's a violation. But I know one thing, if you're going to travel to Egypt, they want that PCR. Same thing if you're going to Puerto Rico. Jamaica is very strict about how you enter their country, right? And in the U.S., in reverse, you have to get that test. So one could say, oh, that feels like an invasion of my health to test to see if I have XYZ. So, I mean, it's all on the line, but then when you think about so many lives who have been affected, so many people who have died, it's just interesting. Do you want to err on the side of caution, or do you want to, be safe? And so it's an interesting thing. Nicole said, shout out to the YouTube audience out there. She said exactly, when you travel, you still have to get vaccinated to enter into another country.
Well, that's true. I just think, when it comes to shots is that, especially the vaccine, for example, I think that we all know there is a risk, and you are accepting the risk that if I take this shot, there's a possibility that my body may react to it in a way that may be harmful. Mm-hmm. And I think that fear could be a reason why someone may not want to take it, because maybe they had an experience before, or some kind of traumatic experience that makes them feel like I've had bad situations with shots. Thank God for the people that have taken the shot that are, walking around fine. They didn't have any issues, but there are people, we can't sit here and act like we don't know. There have been people who took the shot and they died because it just didn't work for them. So it is a risk. And the fact that you're mandating somebody to put themselves at risk, not knowing what the outcome is going to be, just because 90% of people have a positive result doesn't mean that there won't be 10% with a negative result. And so when you break it down like that, it seems sacrificial. You get what I'm saying? Because it's like, you could be the 10%.
and let's be honest, and this kind of goes to my next question, but I mean, especially black people in America, there's always going to be a certain level of distrust with that machine. especially, it's one thing when America would just come out and flat admit, y'all been foul in your history. It's another thing when we always kind of like just, whitewash it as if it's not a big deal. Prime example, we already know that most of the procedures that women have from an OBGYN standpoint, those were tested first on slave black women.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of those practices and thoughts that are based in bias and racism and prejudice are still held true when it comes to the level of pain medicine black women receive versus their white and Latino counterparts or Asian counterparts. Even when it comes to the way they dehumanize a black woman to justify, or how they always impose all these new birth control and everything on us first, that is a derivative of its foundation where, I was just saying the doctor's name earlier, but this guy who's like the founder of female medicine, there's a very evil history, and evil is the very correct word, history of that. And then obviously we have the Tuskegee experiments. Obviously there's been new things we've been finding out now, even within HIV, and we know what communities those more so directly affected and how they went about trying to test and cure for that. And we knew that cure at the time, and also led by Dr. Fauci back then when it happened, killed a lot of people off when they took it, right? So there is a very reasonable fear or hesitation to taking the vaccine. And I totally understand that. I think there's a group of people that I sympathize with more in that regard. I think that group of people are the ones who are like, I don't want to take the vaccine because I don't trust it. But then at the same time, they're still at home, right? Staying away from people. Like, to me, that logic lines up. It's like, okay, I don't trust the vaccine,
but I'm not also out and about.
Exactly.
Like just doing any other
thing. But for all y'all Bammers, because it's another. So for y'all who are living safe, like you stay at home. You're trying not to intermingle with people. When you do absolutely have to leave the house, you have a mask on and all that. I'm not talking to you. Now, for those of you who do not fit that description, and you out in Miami, you smoking weed, you sharing hookah, I don't see why you got a problem taking the vaccine. What's your big deal? Take the damn vaccine. Because you out here outside. Like, I see you guys and how you moving, and you're not being cautious about a very real global pandemic. So for you all who act with no abandon, right? Take the darn vaccine and save another life. Because I don't want you around my grandmother or my parents or my in-laws possibly getting them sick. Y'all keep y'all wild behind at home. All up in everybody's face. Your breath been stank before the pandemic. And then you got the nerve not to want to wear a mask or take the vaccine. For you, individuals, if you're that person, take the darn vaccine. To all my military people out there, when you went through basic training, they shot you up with crap. I don't even know half the crap to this day they put in my arm. For that reason alone, take the darn vaccine.
Well, here's what I would say. At the end of the day, it's your choice. If they are going to make it mandated, I would suggest that you research all of the different vaccines, what's in them, know your body, like maybe even get a recommendation from your doctor based upon your blood type or based upon like what kind of health issues maybe you've had in the past. So that way you can minimize any kind of effects that you might have from the vaccine. I also would encourage everybody to still implement safety practices, because the reality is the vaccines do not protect you from the Delta variant. They are saying that if you get the Delta variant, it still will minimize your chances of potentially dying.
Yeah, keep it from being lethal, or at least minimize the chances of it being lethal.
Or minimize like some of the effects it can have. But the reality is, if we're being truly transparent right now on this live, we don't know enough about the Delta variant. They haven't done enough study on the Delta variant, and they honestly, the only way for them to know how to guide us is to study patients who have the Delta variant. So as that variant is...
But it's already mutated now.
Well,
now you have the Delta Plus.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And I think that the vaccine obviously is going to help, because the foundation of COVID is helping to create a safety barrier from the foundation of it. Now it's already mutated, so I don't really know what we're going to do as far as the science is concerned. What I'm trying to say at the end of the day is, just because you have the vaccine doesn't mean you shouldn't be wearing a mask. Just because you have the vaccine doesn't mean you should be living a life of, I'm going to do what I want to do. I think we still have a responsibility to ourselves and to others to implement safety habits and precautions. Life as we used to know it is not going to be the same until we can figure out how to address this global pandemic. And the reality is, I mean, I can't prove it, but didn't this all start from some lab? So greed basically is the reason why we're in the situation to begin with.
So let's put that out there. First of all, I want to read Nicole's point off YouTube. Shout out to the YouTube audience. Nicole, shout out because you made a good point. She said it's still a risk with every man-made product, right? Good point. We are living in a real life or death situation. The choice is yours, but is it worth not protecting you and your family? And this is why we're having the question, because it's pretty serious right now. And this ties into what you just said about it being her point about man-made and your point about man-made. One thing we know for a fact, the information is out there according to the .gov websites, not some .com conspiracy, not someone's YouTube page, and I know we're YouTubers as well, but not somebody's made-up thought process of what's going on. If you go to the .coms, the .govs, and you look up this court case surrounding COVID, right? We know that people in a lab was creating this. Now, maybe if you research a little further, you could find an answer out to it. I'm not sure, so I'm not going to make up something. But we don't know if they was creating this to create a biological weapon. We don't know what the plan was with this virus they created. But we do know that people have been charged. It was a scientist out of Harvard, another young lady out of Korea or something like that, or China, out of Wuhan. We know that someone created this thing. And it's scary when stuff is created in the lab, because now its effects are unnatural.
Yeah.
It wasn't a natural thing that came into society that we normally would. So the thing about fighting something unnatural is that natural remedies may not work, because this has been concocted to work against things that we know naturally. Right?
So did they put it into a bat, you think? Because remember when we first heard about COVID, they kept saying...
Well, that's because people had watched the one movie, and they just came up with that saying. There's no proof behind that, so I don't even want to go in...
I know, but it was like literally that's what they were saying.
That's why I don't want to entertain it, because it wasn't based in any kind of proof.
So did they put it into a person is what I'm trying to say.
I don't know how it came out to hit the world, but we do know based off a .gov, right, actual court cases that you can find in the system that someone created this thing. Now, all the details of how they created it, why they created it, we don't know that. But we know folks was charged, and we know that legal action was pursued as a result of this thing getting started. So, with that in mind, we know it's a man-made virus. The scary thing about it is, I understand natural, healthy remedies and trying to live holistically. I'm one of those people. The only medicine I got in my cabinet is ibuprofen, and that's only in the extent of like extreme pain for me, which I barely take. I even have 200 milligram tablets because I just don't need that kind of medicine in my body. But we do know that this thing is man-made. That's scary. Something else about this, because like I said, we mentioned earlier the CNN folks that was fired. I know for those who work anywhere in the vicinity to the federal government, you're being asked to be vaccinated. Yeah. I know a lot of people who are trying to hold off, myself included. It's if you're going to be around the federal government in any kind of capacity, even if you're just sweeping the floors, they're going to want you to be vaccinated to be on site on those premises or near that world. So I got to ask you guys, how do you feel about the vaccine being mandated by employers? Because there's some people that's like, I'll just leave my job. I have a thought process to that. But I am curious to see how the majority of you feel about your employer saying, like, yeah, this is mandatory. I think Lana had a comment, too, on IG.
She said, I was asked when I worked in hospitals. Well, I think hospitals make it mandatory because they're dealing with so many different patients that have ailments and things that, if they got COVID, will cause people to die. Because as you know, they always say, like, if you already had like a illness, like, and you get COVID, you're more susceptible to, I guess, death than someone that's healthy. So I think for hospitals, I can understand why they would want their staff to implement some kind of precaution, because COVID probably is like floating around in the hospital more, more likely than you would like in the street somewhere. I don't know. I think that by them creating this vaccination card, I think that they probably do know more than what they are letting on as far as like the adverse effects of the Delta variant and or the other variant that's floating around. I think that they don't want to start a panic like we had last year when this thing came out. But so I think their way to try to get ahead of it and to brace what could be what was the top of last year is by saying everybody needs to get vaccinated, and hopefully that will help us not have as many folks in the hospital. I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I think so too.
To
protect people. I get it.
Lana says, I feel like call folks bluff if they say they are willing to sit down. Meaning like if people say like, I'm not going to take it, so I'm just going to like leave my job. She's saying she thinks that's like a bluff. Elisa says, I think the employers have a right to require it. They're responsible for providing a safe environment for everyone. Lana, I feel like it should be required in jobs and government should require it. Well, here's the thing about jobs and government requiring it. If you work in healthcare, I can understand the requirement. But outside of that, we've learned now that you technically don't need to work in a office space to do your job. Yeah. So if you decide to say, I don't want to be vaccinated and I can do my work from home, there should be no reason why there's a consequence for that, because we know now that that's true. Yeah. The government can work from home as well as people in jobs. Like you can work from home. We've proven that to be a true work environment. Now, I do agree that if you're going to go into a workspace, it's probably best for you to be vaccinated so that you can keep yourself healthy and others. But if you decide I don't want to be around people, I want to not be vaccinated and be in my home space, I don't think someone should be that should be a consequence towards them.
And that's a big part of, depending on what your vocation is or like what you do for a living, whether or not that's going to be an option for you. Nicole brings up a point, and then I want to address the elephant in the room because we're talking about money now in association with this disease or this virus. But Nicole had a point. She said, my job decided not to force employees to return to the office. Non-vaxxers are a liability to these companies. People will sue in a second.
Yeah, they
and
will.
Now that's a good point, right?
People will definitely sue.
So I know
COVID at the job.
Some people look at it from, and I think Lana brought this point up too, and I like the fact that you guys bring this up, or maybe it might have been Elisa. It was Elisa. And that's a good point though. When you got to think about it, when you're a company, when you own a business, you are now liable for those people that work for you and then those customers of yours if you have a customer or a client-facing business. So therefore, maintaining the virus may be a way of protecting not just your company, but in protecting your employees. Keep in mind, a lot of companies do employ elderly folks or people who would be at risk to this virus. We know that certain pre-existing conditions, those people are at a higher risk to die from COVID than others. And if you're in an environment where you could, like a call center or, some type of a help desk or something where you can, operate from a Zoom or phone call, if you can work remote from home, that's great. But then you have places like the post office. You have agencies like VA, the largest healthcare medical system in the United States. Or you have like places like MedStar, or you have retail where if we're going to keep things going, I need you back at Gap folding these khakis. You get what I'm saying? And in those situations, it's like, look, for your own safety and for the safety of the person next to you, it's like either you get it or you keep it moving, right? And I hear a lot of people saying, oh yeah, well, my job tell me, kind of like Lana was saying, call their bluff. And my question to those who won't take the vaccine, you may not be on the line right now, you may be watching this later, but I'll be curious to know your thoughts, so DM us at the Nitty Gritty Show. We'd be happy to see it.
Well, if they require it, you're going to have to take it.
Well, let's say you're going to leave your job. Are you in a position not to? No, and this is serious because all those housing mandates are gone now. They can, as of August, they can kick your behind out your house if you haven't paid for the last 18 months. And we know there's been some people living really high off the hog off that $600 a week. They've been getting that little extra stimulus money, but they ain't been paying their bills.
Are you in a position to say, I don't have to take the vaccine? I think if you are relatively healthy, if you are young, I don't think that there should be a fear for you. Someone who is older, who has a pre-existing condition, and or who has had a situation where there has been a mistrust with doctors and the healthcare system, I can understand their fear. Lana said, It's not like they threw it together. I personally know a physician who worked on it, and I trust him. You need shots before you can go to 7th grade, and it's the same thing. Now, I can see those who have health challenges, but those just being difficult for no reason, get them out the way. I mean, look, I am of the mind of I can't tell someone how their body's going to act, and I've seen people. I've seen my sister take medicine and me take medicine, me be okay and her not be okay. I've heard of people who have had some really, really terrible situations when they were pregnant and or when they went to see a physician. I mean, I know this is a vaccine and you're probably like, well, that's apples to oranges. It is, but I'm bringing it up because people use those traumatic experiences to feed into their reasons behind why they don't want to get a vaccine. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that one thing about trauma is that it's not always rational.
No.
You know what I mean? One thing about trauma is that it's not rational. And so I'm of the mind of, do I understand why we're all getting vaccinated? Yes. Am I going to be vaccinated with my card? Yes. But I'm also of the mind of I'm supporting people who don't want to get it for whatever reason, because at the end of the day, I can't discount their experience. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's like I said, like it's an interesting conversation because I don't know if there's necessarily wrong answers. Like I said, I only have one group that I kind of like. You don't get no excuse from me. You running out here sharing hookah. You still out here doing drugs. You don't know what SA did to get that across the border, right? You know what I'm saying? So if you're doing all of that, Slim, go take the vaccine. But for those, like I said, who are trying to social distance, who have concerns about sending their kids back to school, and they're doing their best to wear their masks and all that, there's a legit fear not to want to take the vaccine. Like, I get that. And for those out there, I mean, you're in a little bit of a pickle.
Or even the 10%.
Yeah, that
who will die.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, their body may reject it. And you got to think about what that means for them. That could be a mom, a dad, that you may lose somebody special to them. So at the end of the day, just because you took the vaccine and you're fine, I think we have a responsibility to look at the other lens of someone who does have a pre-existing condition or may have something in the drugs or in the vaccine that they know their body may react to in a way that's going to repel it and or have a negative effect. Obviously, the majority of people, that's not the case, but for that small 10%, that will cause anybody to be very fearful. You know, you may not want your wife to take it because you know that she doesn't handle drugs well. There are some people who really can't even take, like, shots because they just can't, their bodies just repel it. Like, those people are far and few in between, but they exist nonetheless. I just think that if you're healthy, if you are able-bodied, I think you should take the vaccine, but I'm also not going to force you, nor am I going to ask you your status. It's up to you. I'm going to just do my part by taking it and wearing a mask and social distancing. But if you decide that you don't want to take it, I'm not going to judge you. For whatever reason that you don't want to take it, that's your reason, and it is what it is. And one thing I want to say in closing, because I know we're getting, it's getting kind of late, is what I'm hoping and praying is that as we continue this journey together, I hope that we don't find out months down the line like, oh, the vaccine does cause infertility, or oh, the vaccine does cause hair loss, or oh, the vaccine does cause, muscle failure. Obviously, they haven't said that now, but I would hope that won't be down the line, because that's a lot of people that you're impacting lives, adversely. So all we can do, especially people who are believers of Christ, is to pray over all things. Trust God that He's going to work it out for your good and you and your family's health, and you guys make an informed decision based upon the knowledge that you do have.
Yeah, and there's two last points I want to bring up. One, Nicole had wrote, she said the government is only forcing this because so many people are not vaccinated, and the true statement, the Republicans are making it difficult. So if the U.S. was at least 80% vaccinated, the government probably wouldn't be involved. I do believe that. Nicole also made a good point. She said herd immunity is a huge risk, especially when we are still unsure how to get rid of the virus. Our children will be the real test this fall. My kids are vaccinated, but what about younger children? And that's something that's coming up now, because I think right now the youngest age you can be vaccinated at is 16, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think 16, maybe 12-year-olds can take it. I'm not sure. But I want to say 16 was a threshold. Another thing, too, is some of this is American privilege of having this conversation. What I mean by that is, in other countries, right? Like, for instance, in Egypt, people are like, man, we want the vaccine.
Yeah.
We see that Pfizer's like overcharging Italy and Greece for the vaccine, right? So in other countries, like even when we was in Mexico, right? People are like, do you have the vaccine? Did they give it to you? I heard in America you can just get the vaccine. We have our choice of literally if you sign up at CVS, you have your choice of Moderna, Pfizer, or Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah.
Now
they don't have any.
Me personally, because I did get vaccinated, right? Nicole said 13 earliest you could get vaccinated. Yeah,
so that means that the younger kids, we're going to be watching their demographic to see what happens. That's
as they go back to school. Yeah, it is.
That's really scary.
Even though that seems scary to some people, this seemed like a saving grace, right? You got to think, not everyone has the American healthcare system supporting them, right? Not every country has that. And there's a lot of countries out there that wish they can get the vaccine.
I know, I did hear that. I heard that a lot of African countries don't have access to the vaccine. And given that, when you think about a lot of African countries, they have experienced SARS, they have experienced, all the other ones. I can't think what they call right now.
Many other diseases.
So for them, they're like, we would love to have the vaccine so that we can live a normal life or get a life that people are not just dying all the time. So this is like first world country problems where you have the privilege to say, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm going to do what I want to do. Because like he said, in other countries, they would pray or beg to be able to be in a position where they can say yes or no. It is what it is. It's just interesting.
So that's something to think about. And like we had another conversation we could get into. We're going to save that for next week. We're going to talk about cancel culture. We're going to talk about some of these terms out there, intersectionality and all that. And that's a whole conversation in itself. But since we're close on time, we'll benchmark it there. But I thought it was important that we have this conversation because we are kind of in a do or die situation right now. There's a lot of ignorance being spewed about the virus. I wanted to stay.
Oh, go on. I just remember that one point I really wanted to make.
Go ahead. Think about my battery. Go ahead.
Okay. I think, to Nicole's point, one reason why I think the U.S. is mandating it is because COVID hit a lot of people, or hit the economy really, really bad, and they don't want to lose any more money. So even if the U.S. knew that this could impact lives, I think that they would still make that same decision for money.
Yeah, because the housing market is crazy right now. It's a seller's market, but we all know it's going to burst, and a lot of people are going to lose value on their homes. We do know that jobs are and landlords are at their end now. As of August, once again, they can kick you out your house. So if you ain't been paying your bills over the last 18 months because it's COVID, right? But you was out here taking trips to Mexico. A whole lot of people was in Tulum, right? A lot of us didn't even know what Tulum, Mexico was until the damn virus.
That's true.
Okay? So a lot of people have been living their best life. And if you got the money to do that, hey, power to you. But if you weren't one of those folks, hello, stuff is about to get real. Jobs have already seen, I don't need this piece of the company. I don't need this particular role anymore. Maybe we'll just cut those jobs permanently. And if you don't have the skill set and the traits and the background to work from home, you might be in a really bad situation. Think about it. And if you're selling a commodity, if people ain't making money, who's going to buy your product? Yeah, you've been selling t-shirts, you've been hustling, you've been selling this, you've been selling that. Who buys it when your income is hurting? A lot of multi-level marketing companies felt this. If you were selling something that is extra to somebody's pocket, they didn't keep on buying that thing when times got tough. They was like, you know what? I don't need no shakes. I don't need no special type of elixir. I don't need to buy this particular product anymore. I don't need to go buy high-end clothes. A lot of the clothes out there weren't even updated for the longest because they was like, we didn't even have a fall line in 2020, basically. They just brought out crap from 2019 because they was like, ain't nobody buying no fly clothes right now because we all inside. So these are just things to consider. Like you just can't look at life through your one lens. You got to see how this whole mechanism works together and how it then may come back around and then affects you. So, let's use a little wisdom when we're making these really serious decisions because this is a very serious ordeal.
Question for the audience and for you: do you think we are going to have a second shutdown?
I think so.
What is making you feel that we are?
I can't totally divulge, like my sources.
Okay.
But I think it's coming.
To the audience members who are still online, do you think we're going to have a second shutdown? If yes and or no, why? What is your reasoning? And while they're typing up comments, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I'm gonna start shutting down, y'all, because I mean my computer about to shut down because I'm about to run out of power.
She said, right, jackpot. No, I mean I think the government doesn't want another economic impact. I think so many people, like the airline industry has been so out of whack.
Yeah.
They've got the pilots are on strike. They have a shortage of pilots. I keep hearing that American Airlines and Delta and Spirit have canceled flights. People were stuck.
So yeah, it's getting crazy. Let me do some shout outs real quick as we get ready to bop out this joint. I'm trying to turn on a little cool beat again, you know what I'm saying? Get some hype going. But I want to do a couple of shout outs. Once again, want to shout out the DC Shy Pie. That's our business shout out of the day.
Shout out
just
to our guests.
Shout out to our guests, everybody that tuned on.
Elisa, my mom popped in there for a little bit. Tyler B, Coach D, Love Med, Sven. Thanks so much for joining.
Everybody that came on, we appreciate you. Let me turn a little beat up. Right. Shout out also to G5 Gaming, doing big things over there. If you're into gaming, especially some of the GTA stuff, yo, check out G5 Gaming. Pretty dope. He got his own world. Go check him out, for real. Like, he's got some dope stuff going on. Let me shout out some birthdays real quick. Shout out to all the summer birthdays. We missed a bunch of birthdays being on break, so if we didn't shout you out, but you had a birthday this summer, hey, this is happy birthday to you. As far as current, shout out to Shanae Thompson, Mike Darboz, shout out to Teresa Barber, your sins.
My sins.
Shout out to Alexis Gattis-Heston, also a sorority sister of yours. Shout out to Desmond McCall, shout out to Kelvin Powell, shout out to my man Brandon Jordan, shout out to Alyssa Muller, shout out to Stephanie Peeler, shout out to my man, you know what I'm saying? You know, Jerome Scott, his birthday just passed, and shout out to Amy Kochek. Once again, shout out to all the summer anniversaries. And then if you ever want to shout somebody out on the Nitty Gritty Show, hit us up in the DMs, right? Facebook, IG, what have you. We'll get at you. Also got to pay some more bills. We got merch, y'all. I know we like wearing our stuff, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we also got merch. Go to www.squadlocker.com. In the search, you put in The Nitty Gritty Show. You got to do the old thing like a Tribe Called Quest. The Nitty Gritty Show. We got partnerships with Vital. We got partnerships with Under Armour. We got stuff with Adidas, because y'all know I like Adidas, y'all. We got some hot stuff. Go buy yourself a shirt, a polo. You know what I mean? Take a picture of it. Tag us. Let us know you rocking some of our gear. That'll be really dope. Hope to see y'all in that. And look, y'all, if you like the content, subscribe if you haven't. Share it with your friends. We really want to blow this thing up because we are having good conversations, and unfortunately, you don't always see this conversational outlets. I think we would have gave up on the Nitty Gritty Show years ago, but we do see where there's a chasm in media for this conversation. So we're here until something better comes along or until we get pushed further. So in the meantime, tell somebody about us. Look, it's your boy J. DeCosta.
It's your girl Katniss.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll be back next Sunday. We'll be talking about cancel culture and some of these terms that has flooded our timelines and our conversations. And what does it really mean?
Yep.
Look, we out, y'all. Thank y'all for joining. We love you. See you next Sunday. Or for some of you, I'll see you Monday, tomorrow night for the Music Mondays. And we'll have a good time with that. We out, y'all. See you next week.